What's up, everybody? Omega here, and I'm joined once again by
Lady Omega.
And we are going to do our Epic Hero walkthrough video. We recently did our Rare Hero walkthrough video, and we got a lot of good feedback.
We did. So we're excited to do the epics.
Yeah, we're excited to do the epics. A few people have been asking us to do these. Obviously, these are our opinions and the heroes that we like.
Will vary, and it will vary with everybody.
It will vary with everybody.
It's for beginners and veteran players.
Yeah, so we try to talk about heroes that's going to help out all levels of the game. We're not going to go through every single one of them. We're going to talk about the top ones that we like and we think are the best in each class.
And that we have used throughout from beginning to end. Some of these we still use.
Yep, that's exactly right. Some of them we've had since the beginning, since we started playing, and we still use them. All right, so we're going to go through each. We're going to go through the lexicon. We're going to go through each class and each clan, and just kind of break down and kind of talk about the ones that we like and we think have the most potential and are probably the most useful in the game.
Before we get to the heroes, don't forget to like and subscribe. So do that now. If you're here watching, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for always tuning in, guys. And like Lady O said, we do appreciate a like and a subscribe. All right, so let's start with the Desert Nomads. So the first ones we have here are the Javelin Masters. And there's a couple of these that are great and a few of them that are usable. Our pick of the bunch on this one is obviously Yabi. Yabi is a fantastic hero. I use him a lot personally. I have a very strong Yabi that I'm very proud of. He's built really well. So a little bit about Yabi. He has a speed leader skill, which is increases the speed of all green allies by 21. His special ability is that he deals damage to all enemies, 187% of attack, and he has 100% to inflict vulnerability on all enemies for 3 turns.
Which is important. Brings more damage.
Absolutely. His passive is a 30% chance to use his special ability twice, and he's immune to decreased speed. So his passive, he automatically has a chance to go 2 times, and I use him in the blue Goliath Rift. I use him in the blue Dust Rift. He's an excellent farmer. He'll burn through those waves pretty quickly. And there's certain teams against him in war that I like to use him against too.
Same. And his leadership skill really helps in war.
Yeah.
And him being an AoE hitter and landing that vulnerability with that extra damage really helps out. And I could have swore by using him that it was more than a 30% chance to go twice.
Right.
But usually he does.
Yeah, so that's one thing I'll point out too. It says he has a 30% chance to use a special ability twice. I'm not saying that's not accurate. I'm just saying it seems like he goes off twice a lot.
Yes.
So
tends to make us happy pretty often.
Yeah. Next is going to be Zane.
Zane I use on the RB still. I still use him on the purple RB, and I use his leadership skill on the purple RB because he's got a leadership skill as well of 17.
Yep, he's got a speed leader skill of 17. And he's great against the purple raid boss, as Lady O was saying. She'll talk a little bit about his special.
His special, he gains increased critical chance and increased critical damage for 4 turns. That's huge especially with RB, just any kind of damage. Deals damage to a single enemy, 285% attacked. It's not the highest percentage, but those crits going up makes his damage more significant.
And his passive is?
It deals 50% more damage to targets with no positive statuses, recovers 50% HP when he kills an enemy.
Right.
So that's not going to happen with the RB, which makes him also very good when it comes to heroes, just killing out heroes and war.
Yeah, so maybe if you're facing an epic war team that's got some purple on it, Zane is a good one to take that will really do a lot of damage to those purples pretty quickly. The other one we wanted to point out here would be Gamal. And Gamal is a little bit one-dimensional, and what I mean by that is he's really only effective in one area, which would be what?
Moon Rift?
Yellow Rift.
Yellow Rift, yeah. Sorry. And I use him in Moon sometimes as well.
Yeah, some people use him in Moon, and he's really fantastic in the Yellow Rift. I recommend using him on every Yellow Rift team out there. I actually did a video a little while back about the Yellow Rift, and he's actually in that video. He can do up to 300,000 damage against the Yellow Rift boss. I've seen him do 400,000 damage with one hit against the Yellow Raid boss.
Here's the reason why I use him in Moon. I use the purple dragon for the heal block, and using a purple hero will charge that purple dragon faster.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So he does significant amount of damage, and he fires my purple dragon up to ensure that she's not going to heal.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good point. His leader ability is he increases the attack of all allies in guild-related battles by 32%. So he'll help out if you want to use him in war. He's going to help you there. This is why I like him for the Yellow Rift. He deals damage to a single enemy, 251% of attack. So you want to build him with attack. But he also deals damage to a single enemy based on 16% of the target's max HP. And the reason he does so much damage against the in the Yellow Rift is because the Yellow Final Rift boss has incredibly high HP. So when Gamal hits him, it's going to do a ton of damage and wipe him out.
It's usually game over.
Yeah, it's usually close to game over. He deals 150% more damage to targets above 75% HP, and speed is increased by 10 for every dead enemy. So those are the 3 picks that we have for that class. We are going to move on to Masked Wardens,
which are becoming more popular. It used to be just Najar.
Right. So Najar is probably the best one here.
In multiple areas.
In multiple areas.
RBs.
Yep.
In particularly the green one. But we've seen many guild members use him in various RBs.
So this is why we love Najar. He is used literally almost everywhere in the game. He's used, there's certain raid boss teams that you want to use him on because of his taunt and his reflective damage.
Offensively and
defensively. He's important for war teams. Even in the arena, Lady O uses him a lot in arena. You'll see him on some high level defenses in arena. The other place that he's really helpful is in the Inferno campaign. So we've been getting a lot of questions here and there about Inferno campaign. There'll be more to come on that, but probably if it wasn't for Najar, I don't know if I would have finished Inferno campaign. Lady O actually finished it before I did, and she actually helped me out with it some, but Najar is, I think,
one of the best tanks around.
One of the best tanks around, and great for the Inferno campaign. The other one would be Faron,
which he's recent meta because he's a reviver.
Right, so we're in a revived meta, as she says, and he's a great reviver.
He's not quite a Nefri.
Right, not quite a Nefri, but if you don't have a Nefri, he's a great substitute. And if you put together epic war defenses, you're going to see him a lot. He's not really an offensive hero, but he's great for war defense. He sacrifices 60% of his current HP to resurrect an ally with 40% HP. And yes, he does sacrifice some of his own HP, but if you build him with enough HP and you stack him with enough HP, you really don't see a whole lot of the effect of that. It's not going to kill him immediately when he revives someone and a special goes off.
His passive, he gains 60% resistance and 60% defense. If he has more than 90% HP, he grants Soul Link if himself and an ally resurrected with special ability for 3 turns and a mana gain increased by 1.
Right, so he's a great tank and reviver all the way around. He's imperative to epic revive teams in war, and we really like him. So he's going to be our other pick in that class.
But we should test on Yuki.
Oh, we cannot leave Yuki out. I cannot believe I almost skipped him.
When you introduced him to
me. I did. Yuki is one of my personal favorite epics in the game.
I have 2 of him built.
And I will tell you guys why right here. He is a fantastic debuffer. He has AoE debuff, which means he removes 1 positive status from all enemies, and he has a 67% chance to remove an additional positive status from all allies. So if you need like an AoE debuffer, he's fantastic for that.
My favorite is his passive.
Yeah, his passive is great. He recovers 5% HP for each status, positive status removed. So the more positive statuses he removes, it's going to boost his own HP. If he has more than 50 HP, he inflicts status block on the enemy with the highest attack for 2 turns at the start of his turn. Status block is
amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of like an unsung debuff in this game. You don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but it's incredibly important and it works really well. Basically, what happens when status block lands is that particular hero, the enemy hero that you're facing, cannot gain any positive status, whether it's from themselves or from an ally giving them an immunity boost or an attack or defense boost. As long as that status block is on there, they can't gain any buffs.
Right. Nothing. No mana regeneration. None of that. It's great. Worshippers of Ra.
Worshippers of Ra. Now, for me personally, the only one that I really like in this bunch is Ify. She's fantastic against the yellow raid boss, especially if you pair her with Etro, which we'll talk about a little bit later. She has an attack leader skill for all purple allies by 38%.
Mm-hmm. That's what I use her attack leader skill on the raid boss.
Yeah. Lady O has her on her raid boss team against yellow. She uses her a lot, does a ton of damage. I really like her as well.
Her special, she deals damage to a single enemy, 370% attack, and ignores 20% defense down, with a passive of dealing 55% more damage to enemies with higher HP than hers. So that's what makes her so great with the raid boss.
Yeah, so obviously those raid bosses all have super high HP, and she's going to do more damage the more HP the raid boss has.
Now, the other girls, we're not saying that they're trash. I've seen some Takars used. I've seen some Senora used. But
so some of these heroes may...
they're not trash. They're just not...
If you're looking at these Worshippers of Ra, these girls in the beginning of the game, if you're new to the game and you're still learning or maybe even intermediate, we're not saying these won't help you out. But really the best of the bunch is Ify. You may find some use for some of the other ones, but none of them really jump out as being super impressive to us at this point.
Then we only have one in this section, Desert Guardians.
Right, so this is a fairly new hero. He was an event hero, Demi.
We know the meta is going towards resistance.
Right, so he does have a guild battle resistance leadership, which is really high. He boosts the resistance of all allies by 40% in guild-related battles. So it being a resistance meta, that may become helpful. I haven't used this guy enough to really know a lot about him. Reading his card, he looks okay. It's just finding a place to fit him in and what heroes he's going to work against.
And he may be better when the meta catches up to the resistance thing where we're heading into now.
Right.
Because the stun is great. Like,
yeah, he reduces the duration of stun by 9 turns for all enemies or allies. Excuse me. So I mean, he'll help in that respect so your team doesn't get stun locked and be stunned for as long, and then he grants resistance to all allies for 4 turns.
That resistance is needed to keep those silences off of you, and
so he's actually immune to stun, and then he continues to boost resistance through
to the whole team.
Yeah, to the whole team. So if you need a hero that's going to boost all the resistance for all your heroes and just have a lot of resistance to the team, he's probably one you want to look at. All right, moving on.
To the Forest Keepers.
Forest Keepers. Ladies of Flowers.
I really like these girls.
So
my favorite one, the one that I used all the time in the beginning was Ordea.
Yeah, a lot of people like Ordea. She's a good beginner hero. You won't really see her in game too much or late game. But if you do have her and you're a newer player to the game or an intermediate player, she will help you.
She will.
She has a...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was moving on to the next one already. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to look at Kasai next.
Kasai.
And she is the best of the bunch. Kasai is awesome. I actually have 2 that I use in mostly Epic Wars.
The raid boss?
The raid boss, the green raid boss, she is fantastic against. That's probably where she's used the most.
And she really helps with Eldritch damage.
Mm-hmm. And I remember getting her. She was the Valentine's event hero when I started playing the game. And that's how I got her, was through the Valentine event. But she, now she's available to everybody. She has been for a while. But she's a fantastic hero. She has a 100% chance to inflict decreased resistance on all enemies for 4 turns. She has 4-turn vulnerability on all enemies at a 100% chance. And she also has a 100% chance to inflict poison or dots on all enemies for 4 turns.
Yes. Whereas the Green Raid boss cleanses all that, but it's great when it's on that run.
Yes, and she still works fantastic against the Green Raid boss. Gains 25 mana at the start of her turn, so she's already getting close to firing up her special at the beginning of her turn, and then she has a 35% chance to use her special ability twice. I wanted to talk a little bit about why I think Kasai is so important in the current meta, in the current game that we play, because if you notice when you're in war, there's a lot of epic war defenses that use a double revive team. And as one of my previous videos showed, your best defense or offense, against those double epic revive teams is going to be dots. So any hero that has poison, fire, bleed, those are the types of heroes that you want to use against double revive teams in wars. And she is on every team that I use to take out those double revive teams.
When you fully dust her, she gets speed.
Right.
She gets speed while she's being dusted, and that's really important in war in any part in this game.
Right. So a really fast one to have, a really fast Kasai is important to have in this game. And like Lady O said, is once you have her fully dusted and fully awakened, she gains 20 speed just through being dusted.
Monstrous Rabbits.
Monstrous Rabbits. These are fairly new to the game. I don't have them all.
I have them all but Gilbert,
right.
Which is one of the best ones.
Right. So, like, the jury's still out on a couple of these, but the best ones, in my opinion, and the ones that you really want to focus on are going to be Frank. He's the first one. Frank is awesome. I call him the Zarkon killer because he can take out a Zarkon
with one bite.
With one bite. And he has a chance to go twice. If he doesn't take him out the first bite, he'll take him out with a second one. So let's take a look at his leader skill.
He increases the attack of allies in guild-related battles by 32.
And his special ability.
Which some people use him on the raid boss because of that. He deals damage to a single enemy, 40% of caster's max HP, and ignores 30% defense down. 30% defense down is huge because they're usually marked at 20% defense down.
Yeah.
And so you want to build him on HP, high HP, and crits, of course, to get that critical damage up.
And his passive?
50% chance to use his special ability twice, which is what Omega was talking about. 100% chance to use his special ability twice if affected by bleed, burn, or poison. Gains increased speed for 5 turns when the enemy dies, which he usually does that when he bites them. And mana gain increased by 1.
Yep. He's a fantastic hero. I use him in war a lot.
And his special is really cool.
Yeah, his special's awesome. His animation's really cool.
Right, his animation.
This is a cool looking hero.
I think the rabbit's really cute, personally.
Just a couple of things that I wanted to point out about him that I really like is, and you face a lot of Zarkons in war, Teiko Sons in war, and a lot of Helikas, a purple support hero. He is excellent against them. He can kill a Helika and a Zarkon pretty quickly.
Yes.
The other one that I like, Lady O doesn't actually have this one, but he is really good, is Gilbert.
Put salt in my wound.
Gilbert's awesome. He's not quite as good as Frank. Maybe his use is a little bit different, but he is a very close second. He has a crit damage leader skill in guild battles.
30% chance.
At 30% chance. He deals damage to a single enemy at 44% of caster's current HP and ignores 30% defense. His passive is this crit damage is increased by 30% just automatically. It's just going to boost itself every time. His crit damage is increased by 5% for every positive status affecting him, and his mana gain is increased by 1. So if you got him on a team with a lot of buffs that's going to buff your team with attack and speed and everything else, the more positive statuses he has on him,
the harder he's going to bite.
The harder he's going to bite.
I like Benny too. I'm just throwing that out there. We don't have to talk about him.
Yeah, a lot of people like Benny. He's on the come up. We'll test them out some more and get back to you guys with that one. Half-elf druids, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think a lot of these are that great. I'll tell you what, if you're new to the game or an intermediate player, Eleador is a fantastic healer to have.
And Arbor. Arbor is... Okay, we'll talk about Eleador first.
Yeah, let's talk about Eleador first.
His special restores 20% of target's max HP to all allies and grants recovery to all allies for 4 turns, which makes him really hard to kill.
Yeah, and he's a fantastic healer, like I said.
In the beginning, he's awesome.
When I was fairly new to the game and I didn't have a whole lot of healers yet, and I had not fused a Guinevere yet, Eleador was a great healer to have, and he's still a good healer to have.
He still is. Some people got him built tough.
His passive is defense increased by 35% if HP below 30%. Grants recovery to an ally with the lowest HP for 3 turns at the start of his turn. And he does have an HP leader skill for everywhere. So it increases all allies' HP by 30%, 32% in all game modes. Now we can pull up Arbor. Lady O likes him. She's going to talk about him a little bit.
Okay, he's got a speed leader skill of 17. His special is he removes 2 negative statuses from all allies and grants increased speed to all allies for 5 turns. My apologies. As we know, speed is the name of the game, and it's just important to have. And removing those status effects is really important in the game if you want to get anywhere usually. And his passive recovers 3.5% HP for each negative status removed. So the more he removes,
the tankier he's going to become.
Yeah.
And he may be good, let's say, if you don't have a sigil or another legendary cleanser that you can use. He's a great cleanser to have because he's an AoE cleanser and he removes at least 2 positive statuses, negative statuses from all enemies.
Or building for epics in war.
Yeah, building for epics in war. Could do that too. All right, moving on to the next class.
Okay.
Flower alchemists.
Well, everyone knows that Nika's the best.
Nika is the best one. Yeah. I don't think that's any secret at this point. We'll go over Nika's card real quick. Most people already know about her. Again, but if you're new to the game and you have her maybe in your storage or you're not sure what to do with her, she's a fantastic hero that's used on all levels of the game and just about every aspect of the game.
She used to have immunity until the game changed, and then now she's got
Spell Shield. Which is very similar. Grants Spell Shield to all allies for 5 turns, and grants recovery to all allies for 5 turns. So they're going to heal over time, and she's going to give them Spell Shield and protect them from negative statuses.
Right.
Her passive.
35% chance to grant recovery for 3 turns to all allies every time she is attacked with critical damage. Her defense is increased by 30% if affected by recovery. It's just an ongoing thing there.
Yep. So
it's constant heal.
Constant heal. Nika is fantastic. Diana, I will give an honorable mention to because she is She's a decent cleanser. If you need a cleanser, she removes negative statuses from all allies, and then she has a chance to remove 1 more positive status or negative status from all allies. She does have Soul Replenish and Mana Breath as well. So she's a decent hero. She's probably number 2 in that class, I would think.
Yeah. Her passive is 35% chance to remove a random negative status from herself whenever she is attacked, and resistant is increased by 70% if not affected by any negative statuses. And she has a 32% HP lead. And I really have high hopes for Daphne. We don't have to talk about her, but I think she's going to be something.
She grants Taunt, kind of like Tornus does. Grants Reflect to an ally with the highest defense for 5 turns. So whoever your tank is on her team, she's going to give them Taunt and actual Reflect for 5 turns.
Her passive grants Soul Link for 3 turns to herself and an ally. If an ally has less than 30% HP when she uses her special ability, 35% chance to gain recovery for 3 turns every time she is attacked, and a mana gain increased by 1 with a 32% defense leadership skill. So I think she's going to be somewhere in the game. I haven't found a spot yet, but I have high hopes for Daphne.
So we're going to talk about the One-Eyed Elves next. And here's my take on these guys. The best one is probably Finbor, the purple. I've been using him for a long time.
I agree.
When I first started the game, he was on, it seemed like almost every arena team that we faced. And the meta changed a couple times, but he's still very good.
He's trying to make a comeback.
He's trying to make a comeback. He's attack leader everywhere. Increases the attack of all allies by 32%. This is the other reason why we like him. He deals damage to all enemies, 259% of attack, which is pretty high for an AoE hitter. And he has a 100% chance to remove one positive status from all allies. So he's going to debuff all allies and then hit them with some pretty good damage along the way.
You can make him super tough and make him wipe out almost an entire team.
Yeah. He deals 6 more damage for each positive status affecting an enemy. And he deals 35% more damage to enemies above 50%.
He's an oucher. Oucher, sorry.
Yeah, he hits hard. You probably do say ouch when he hits you.
Yeah, for sure.
Gilbert is probably the second pick of this bunch. He's a good green attacker.
Used a lot on the blue raid boss when the raid boss is 50% down.
Yeah, he's used a lot on the blue raid boss. He's good for that team. He's got a speed leader skill similar to Yabby's of all green heroes by 21.
But his is higher than the typical epic.
And 21 is higher than a typical epic. Yeah, it's usually 17 and 13 in some cases even. But his is 21. So he's very good. Probably a close second in that class. Other than that, I used Istin in the beginning against the green raid boss, but I haven't used him in a long time. I think he kind of needs a rework at this point. But Finbor and Gilbert are the two in that class that you're really going to want.
Right. And the other two do have potential, but not enough to talk about.
Okay, the Clawbies. Now, personally,
they're so pretty, but they all need to be reworked in some kind of way.
None of these are really good, in my opinion. Now, again, I keep reiterating this. If you're new to the game and need an attacker, these will help get you through a certain point, these Clawbies girls. But they're just not. They need a serious buff. They need a rework. They've been around a long time, even before I started playing the game. And there's just so many other epic attackers that are better than these girls. Like Lady O said, she likes the way they look. They're really cool looking heroes, but as far as how much they're going to actually help you, it's going to be minimal.
Yeah. Moving on to
Slavs.
Ugh, seen Yaga as soon as I opened it.
So we got Caretakers.
Yes, if you watched our last video when I talked about the rare hero and said that there was a blue healer, it's
Moralia.
Yes.
Moralia is a great healer. She's an HP leader in Rifts. She'll boost all the allies' HP by 38%. She's a great healer and restores HP based on 180% of her defense. So you want to build her with high defense. She's going to heal more the more defense she has. And she grants Fortify to all allies for 3 turns. Fortify is a good skill to have. It's a good buff to have because it reduces the amount of damage that your enemy's special does against your heroes or your team. She also has Spell Shield to the ally with the lowest HP for 3 turns at the start of her turn, so that's going to happen automatically because of her passive. And she gains 25 mana if all allies are alive at the start of her turn.
If we had to pick out of those, I would say the blue one was most universally used.
Right.
But
Liliana is probably the second best in this class. Mm-hmm. Restores 25% of caster's current HP to all allies. Grants recovery to all allies for 3 turns. And her passive is 30% chance to cast her special ability at the start of her turn. So that's a decent passive to have because whether she's fired up or not, at the start of her turn, she's just going to have a chance to just heal everybody right off the bat. And she has Protective Shield based on 20% of HP for 2 turns when she's hit with critical damage. So
once per turn.
Yeah.
I'm going to gain by 1.
So those 2 out of the Caretakers bunch are probably the best. Moralia and Liliana.
The Royal Knights.
Moving on to the Royal Knights.
Andrew, the best, hands down.
Andrew is the best out of this class, hands down. He has a resistance leadership skill in the arena. Increases the resistance of all allies in the arena by 40%.
Stop right there. That's his.
Stop right there is his special ability. Deals damage to a single enemy 40.5% of caster's max HP. So he does a ton of damage based on how high his HP is. And this is why I like him, is he has a 100% chance to inflict stun on a single enemy for 4 turns. I still use Andrew a lot in wars. He's an awesome hero to have. His passive is...
recovers 20% HP at the start of his turn, and his accuracy is increased by 2% for every 1,000 HP he has on him. So
the higher HP, the more he's going to land his stun.
And the more damage he's going to do as well. So it's a dually beneficial.
The other ones are pretty average in that class. They all do damage. They're all attackers. They may help you all out earlier in the game, but later in the game, they become pretty mediocre. All right, moving on.
I really like these ladies, these priestesses.
Nature priestesses. And in this current meta, almost all of these but 2 are fantastic to use.
It's Polina, Ozenka, and Iskra.
Iskra. So let's look at Polina. She's an HP leader everywhere.
A reviver.
A reviver. Resurrects an ally with 10% HP and 50% chance to grant invincible to an ally for 4 turns.
The invincibility becomes a headache if she gets that and you forget to bring a dispeller or something.
Yeah, she can be a real pain to go up against. Restores 10 mana to herself at the start of her turn for every dead ally. Defense is increased by 8% for every dead ally, and the mana gain is increased by 1. Restores 10 mana to herself at the start of her turn for every dead ally. Defense is increased by 8% for every dead ally, and her mana gain is increased by 1.
She means it till the end.
She is a great reviver. Next we have Ozenka.
Which was an event hero to begin with.
Right, and she is fantastic. I really like her speed leader skill. I use it a lot in wars.
She's probably favorite out of the epic.
Yeah, out of these, she's probably the favorite.
Revivers.
Yeah, she's probably the favorite out of these. Increases speed of all allies by 13% in all game modes. And resurrects an ally with 25% HP. Gains 25 speed for every dead ally. Grants recovery for 1 turn 3 times to all allies if she has 100% mana at the start of her turn. Mana gain is increased by 1. She is fantastic for epic war defenses.
And setting them both up together, Polina and Ozenka,
is a real pain.
Yeah, they're a real pain in the rear.
Third best is probably going to be Iskra.
Which she has a chance to revive them all.
Mm-hmm.
A 60% chance to resurrect all allies with 10% HP. And with the passive, it gains 10 mana at the start of her turn for every living ally. Gains increased defense for 4 turns if she has 100% mana at the start of her turn, and a mana gain increased by 1.
I think she's one that we're going to start seeing used a lot more. She also has a defense leader skill where she boosts the defense of all allies in every game mode.
I would really like to see HP on her.
So she has a lot of potential. But the 2 best in that class are going to be Polina and Ozenka.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to the Cossack slashers.
I really like the slashers term in there.
Mm-hmm. So there's 3 that we're going to talk about. Petro is one that I really like. I don't really use him as much as I used to, but he is fantastic against the Red Raid boss if you need a hitter. He's kind of an old school hero. A lot of the players have been playing for a while, like myself, have used him for a long time. There's been some heroes come out in the epic class that are probably a little bit better than him now, like Rogar and most recently Kuntar. But Petro is a great a great hitter if you need one. He does a ton of damage. He is probably tied for best in this class with, I would say, Gojamir, who is this one.
He can be a glass cannon.
Gojamir is definitely a glass cannon. Most of them, the ones in this class are. But Gojamir can also do a ton of damage. We use him against the Purple Raid boss as our main attacker.
Yes. He deals attack damage to a single enemy, 260% attack, ignoring 40% defense down, and gains increased speed for 6 turns.
Mm-hmm.
Passive of 35% chance to use a special ability twice if the first one deals critical damage. Critical damage is increased for 10 for every 40 speed. Everything complements each other in that.
So a great hero to use against the purple raid boss. And we see a lot of people using him in war and even in arena too. So he's a great hero to have. The third one's probably going to be Primoslav.
Which is a really good farmer.
He's a really good farmer. That's pretty much what his use is if you need a good farmer. He is actually a fusion hero, so you're able to fuse him if you don't have one. So if you need a good farmer in the game, and you're fairly new to the game, he's a good one to have.
Right, and who doesn't want a hero that has a jaunty assault?
Right, he has a jaunty assault. I mean, that's a pretty cool thing to have. And push onward is his passive. Recovers 5 HP whenever he kills an enemy. So he just kind of keeps going as a farmer. Like I said, he's a good farmer to have if you need one. But Petro, Primoslav, and Gojimir are going to be the best in that class.
His face looks like a homeless man, but he's got really nice clothing on.
Yeah, he does kind of look like a homeless guy. But
it's okay, it's fine, we love him.
A well-dressed homeless guy.
Yeah.
All right, next one is another event hero, and that is Zarya.
We really like her.
I love some Zarya. Her animation is so cool.
If you watch a minute, she'll turn into a skull.
Yeah, she will. Her face will turn into a sugar skull. And it's a great time of the year for that to happen. Happy Halloween, everybody. It's coming up soon.
Oh, there it went.
All right, so she has a leader ability, increases the accuracy of all allies in the arena by 40%. 100% chance to inflict burn on all enemies for 3 turns. 100% chance to inflict snare on all enemies for 3 turns, and 50% chance to inflict status block on all enemies for 3 turns.
That's huge.
She's an awesome hero. She's great against those epic revive teams in Guild Wars. She's such an awesome hero to have. Like I said, she was an event hero, but hopefully she'll be. Everybody will have a chance to get her real soon.
Should be soon.
Yeah.
I wish they would release her with these Halloween heroes that's coming up.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Her passive is a 100% chance to remove 1 positive status from a target enemy when dealing damage with gemstones, or a 100% chance to remove 2 positive statuses from target enemy when dealing damage with gemstones if the target enemy is affected by Soul Link. Immune to curse and decreased speed. Mana gain increased by 1.
Yep.
She's a great hero.
She is an awesome hero. Malinka was another event hero. We're not even going to talk about her. She's not very good. I don't know. She needs a buff like no other. I don't see anybody ever using her.
I had high hopes for her.
Yeah, we had high hopes for her, but at the end of the day, she kind of sucks. So,
moving on to Iron Clans. Oh, the bearded guys. The
Dwarven Artificers. Well, depending on what your style of play is, there's a couple of these that are decent. Kurgi's good against the against the yellow raid boss. He can help you. He has vulnerability, so he may be able to help you there. I really like Thorgrad. I've been telling Lady O about him for a while. He has attack leader of all green heroes. Increases the attack of all green allies by 38%.
I just feel like he's a dirty bomb.
He's a dirty bomb. Deals damage to a single enemy. 350% of attack. 100% chance to inflict poison on a single enemy for 4 turns. And 100% chance to inflict heal block on a single enemy for 4 turns. So he definitely has a lot of potential. His passive is he can match gemstones 4 times, so he'll get you more damage with tiles. Damage is increased by 50% when he is affected by Soul Link. The other one that people like that I actually don't have is the yellow one, which is Malgrid, and he just does a lot of damage. Deals damage to a single enemy, 310% of attack, and ignores 40% defense. And his passive.
Damage is increased by 7% for every positive status affecting an enemy. Restores 25% mana at the start of his turn. Mana gain increased by 1. You think you're tough?
All right, let's move along to Dwarf Rune Masters. There's quite a few of these girls that are good, and we'll give them to you in the order that we think are probably the best. There's 3 of these that stand out, and a couple of them that are useful, kind of mediocre. Let's start with Tornus. Tornus is...
She can be a handful.
She is a pain to go up against, and she is awesome for war defense.
Yes. She grants Protective Shield, 30% of target's max HP to an ally with the highest defense for 5 turns. Grants Taunt to the ally with the highest defense for 5 turns. So...
She pairs really well with Azanka and Paulina, those 2 revivers.
Yes.
That defense is such a pain to go up against.
Especially if she taunts. Her taunt goes on someone that's not one of them.
Yeah.
It protects them. And that's what makes dot heroes important. Because you still get to
do
knock
damage.
them down.
Yep.
Yes.
Gains 30 mana at the start of her turn and immune to heal block. So Tornus is awesome. The other one that we like is Gara. She has an HP leader everywhere of 32%. She's also a fusion hero, so you're able to fuse her. Mm-hmm. So if you need a good support hero, she's a great one to have, and you don't have to summon her. You can just fuse her.
Yeah, and probably, I think they give shards out for the Path of Destiny for her.
Oh, that's right, they do. That's a good point. During the Path of Destiny, you will get shards for her to fuse one. All right, grants increased defense to all allies for 5 turns. Grants Protective Shield based on 20% of all targets' max HP to all allies for 5 turns. Her passive is she recovers 20 HP at the start of her turn. So she's just going to keep healing herself and being a little bit tankier. And she's immune to heal block. All right. And probably the third best one here that we like is Gaffo Death. I use her on my purple raid boss team. She has attack leader skill of 26% that she grants everywhere to all allies on the team.
For 4 turns?
For 4 turns. And grants attack, protective shield based on 25% of a target's max HP. She's a good hero to have if you don't have an Aurora. She does basically the same thing. Very similar to Aurora. So if Aurora is one of those heroes that's been eluding you, Gaffo Death is a good substitute to use. And she does give her leadership skill does boost her attack. 35% less damage received if affected by mana, breath, status, and immune to heal block.
So all these girls are immune to heal block.
Yeah. Yeah, looks like they are. Your goal, immune to heal block. Yeah, so all of them are going to be immune to heal block, but really the best 3 are Tornus, Gara, and Gaffo Death.
Moving on to the Bone Breakers.
Bone Breakers. Now
that's exactly what Roger is with the raid boss.
Jury's out still on some of these guys. Really, for me, guys, the best one is obviously Rogar. I did a video on him months back when he first was released as an event hero, and then they slowly but surely released the other ones. Rogar is definitely the best of the bunch. He is a great attacker against the red raid boss.
She has a 26% attack leadership skill of everywhere in all game modes. His special is deals damage to a single enemy, 390% attack, ignores 20% defense down with a passive, giving him damage is increased by 25% if the enemy has above 70% HP, which is why he's so valuable with the raid boss. Damage is increased by 30% if only one enemy is alive, again, raid boss. Immune to burn, bleed, and poison if only one enemy is alive. Again, raid boss.
Yeah, so when you're fighting the red raid boss with a Rogar as one of your damage dealers, he is going to be immune to burn against that raid boss and do more damage because it's only one enemy you're facing.
And can we just not point out that cute skeleton dragon on his shoulder?
Yeah, he's got a cool looking little dragon skeleton on his shoulder. The other thing I like about him is his animation. When he hits a hero, an enemy, you can see their soul leaving their body. I just think that's just so cool.
I'm like, kill him.
Vigmar. Vigmar's probably an honorable mention. He's a decent damage dealer. He also inflicts a ton of poison. As you can see, there's a if you look at his special here, there's a cascading additional effect to inflict poison, and he does deal damage to a single enemy based on 330% of attack.
I use him every war. Every single war. And it will hurt.
Deals 10% more damage for each poison status affecting the enemy, 100% chance to inflict poison on all enemies for 2 turns when an ally dies. So he's probably the second best of the bunch there. The other 3, I don't really think are worth mentioning. Some people like Harling. He's got potential to do some damage and be a hero to use. But really, the best of that bunch is going to be Rogar and Vigmar.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Here's the Ladies of Passion.
The Nordic Archers.
Yeah. I think they look passionate.
The Ladies of Passion?
Yeah.
You threw me off there. I didn't even know who you were talking about.
Okay, obviously the best one here is Eldred.
All right, yeah. Eldred's going to be the pick of this bunch.
Mainly because of her raid boss skills.
Yeah, against the green raid boss. Her attack leader against red heroes is 38% boost to all allies. Deals damage to a single enemy, 359% of attack. And her passive is what makes her great. She deals 13% more damage for every negative status affecting an enemy. So the more negative effects you stack on that green raid boss, the more damage she's going to do. Mm-hmm. A couple of honorable mentions are probably Erica. She does attack to all enemies, and she removes 1 positive status from all enemies. She's a decent debuffer if you need one. Mm-hmm. But really the pick of that bunch is going to be Eldred.
Civ isn't too bad either.
Civ is decent. She's an AoE hitter. Deals damage to all enemies, 183% of attack. And 100% chance to inflict decreased attack on all enemies for 4 turns.
I really like Ashlog's name.
Gains 15 mana whenever she kills an enemy and immune to decreased speed. Yeah, the other 3, not really impressed with. So, really, Eldred's the best one of that bunch. All right, moving on to the Viking Vindicators. The best 2 here
is Deborn
and Figo. Deborn does a ton of damage. He has an HP leader skill. He increases the HP of all blue allies by 44%, which is huge.
That's why I use his leadership skill on the raid boss.
He deals damage to a single enemy, 45% of caster's max HP. And resistance is increased by 130% when at 100% HP.
So all these guys are immune to stun.
Mm-hmm.
So Figo, it took me 10 years to pull him.
It seemed like it, didn't it?
Yeah, but...
Figo is awesome. He does a ton of damage based on defense. Gains increased defense for 4 turns. So he buffs his defense right off the bat when the special goes off. And then he deals damage to a single enemy, 360% of defense. So he boosts his own defense, and then he does damage based on how much his defense is. He works really well with Hempy because she boosts the defense even more of her allies.
Right. And his passive, his attack is increased by 25 for every 100% defense he has. Immune to stun, mana gain by 1. So he's just a savage.
He's a great hero to have.
I've been one-shot by a couple of those.
All right, Santa's Assassins. Lady O really loves these reindeer girls.
I really do.
She's going to talk about the couple that she uses and likes the most. I have them. I just don't use them a whole lot. She enjoys their snare and uses them a lot. So I'll let her talk about the reindeer girls.
Okay. So the ones that I have 6-starred as of now is Jade, Celine, and Lucy. But we'll start with Jade. She has a leadership skill of 17. I use her every single war. Her special deals damage to a single enemy, 370% attack, 100% chance to inflict heal block on a single enemy for 4 turns. And her passive is if the target is affected by increased defense or protective shield, she has a 100% chance to remove 4 positive statuses and a 100% chance to inflict snare for 3 turns on the target when using her special ability. She's immune to decreased speed, and attack is increased by 20% if there's a living Claws or Mrs. Claus on her team.
Do you use her with Claus and Mrs. Claus ever?
I haven't yet because I planned on doing that around Christmas. I guess I'm just not in the Christmas spirit to use them.
Okay.
But, you know, I use her I leveled her for my epic teams. I was struggling with epic teams. So, and that's where my love for these girls really came from, because I needed epic heroes to start taking out some of these teams, and this snare works perfectly, you know, for the lack of dots that we don't have in the epic field. So... but I think she would just be even more savage with them. I mean,
so would you say she's your favorite of the bunch?
I use Celine the most.
Okay, let's take a look at her.
She also has a speed leader skill of 17. Her special is a 100% chance to inflict snare on a single enemy for 4 turns twice. 100% chance to inflict status block on a single enemy for 4 turns. So these teams in the warfield that racks up on those statuses, she can block those, and I really like that about her. Her passive is she restores 15 mana to herself at the start of her turn for each dead yellow enemy. Her speed is increased for 15 for each dead yellow enemy, and immune to decreased speed and ACC increased by 40% if there's a living Claws and Mrs. Claus on her team. But I really like taking her against Faran.
Oh, yeah. She'd be great against him.
Yes, because that's typically what you run into on the epic teams with those revives, and it just helps by killing him. It just boosts her even more. Lucy's another good one, but I don't really use her as much as I use the others.
Right, so Jade and Celine would be the pick of that bunch, I think.
Yes. I really like Snare. I really love it a lot.
Awesome. All right, so
Summoner girls.
Moving on to Summoner girls. So the best of this bunch is going to be Zoe.
Yes. Which she may be a little outdated, but she's still really good. Yeah,
she's still useful. I still use her in the blue Goliath Rift and the blue Dust Rift. She has defense down to all enemies, and she does damage to all enemies based on 194% of defense. Her passive is grants increased speed to all enemies at the start of the wave for 3 turns. Accuracy increased by 15% for every alive green hero in a team, and mana gain is increased by 1. She's fantastic on a green team pairs well with Yabby. Hempy is another one that she'd pair well with Cassia. So
she's
like a blue farming rift or a blue dust rift, or against the blue raid boss. She is awesome.
Yes.
All right.
Next one would be Astra. Uh-oh.
Let me get back to my lexicon here. Something happened.
There we are. Astra.
Right, so this is the one that I have her at 6-star. I think she's very cool. She's probably the second best of the bunch. She has an accuracy leader in the arena. Then she has Scary Clinch as her special ability. She deals damage to all enemies, 16% of casters' max HP, 100% chance to inflict decreased resistance on all enemies for 4 turns, and 100% chance to inflict curse on all enemies for 4 turns.
And that curse, if you don't know what it does, it puts it on your enemies, and any buffs that they happen to get, that curse eats them up. So if they got curse for 4 turns or for 4 curses, it eats up those buffs for 4.
Yeah, it's going to remove those buffs one at a time.
Yes.
Her passive is really cool. 100% chance to remove 1 positive status and 100% chance to inflict curse to all enemies for 5 turns at the start of the wave. So as soon as she starts, she's going to cast her passive.
Which is really good on a defensive team when people use Najar to come in. She just dispels them, and then your Takeo can kill and stun lock everybody.
Stun lock everybody, yep. All right, so next we have a new event hero, and
Kuntar, Mountain Berserkers.
And Lady O is going to talk a little bit about him.
Okay, I like him. I feel like he has potential to hit the raid boss harder than Rogar. He's got a leadership skill of 30%, critical damage leader in the arena. So his special is he gains vampirism for 4 turns, deals damage to a single enemy, 410% attack, and ignores 20% defense down. He's real brutal. His passive, critical damage is increased by 7% for every 10% HP he has, immune to stun and decrease attack.
So he's a relatively new hero, like that event just finished, but we both really like him a lot. Like Lady O was saying, he does a ton of damage to the red raid boss. So he is a fantastic hero to have.
Okay, and that wraps up part 1. Remember to like and subscribe on our videos if you like them, and if we help you, we're helping you.
Yeah, just let us know in the comments. We appreciate you guys checking out these videos. Like Lady O said, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, any suggestions you have, we'd love to hear them. And we'll catch you in part 2. Omega and Lady Omega.
Peace out.
Peace out.